In 2005, my parents decided to give their one and only child at the time a PlayStation 2. To keep him from crying all the time and making stupid ass noises and throwing styrofoam all over the living room because he wanted his Hot Wheels to race in the snow. I was fortunate enough to experience many demo discs and also classics like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and all of that. And since I've grown up to be a PlayStation gamer boy or whatever, which has had its highs and its lows. Unfortunately, everybody I grew up with had Xboxes. We'd always talk about games like Gears, Crackdown, and the almighty Halo. My friends would take fucking turns pretending to be Master Chief in the playground. I didn't even know what that meant, but I went along with it, so who's the idiot now? I would always watch him play Halo and constantly play co-op with my cousin once in a while, but I would never understand what's going on. And sure, I've dabbled with the games here and there, but I've never truly completed any of the games. Until now. I recently bought an Xbox One with Game Pass, and I've been trying to catch up on all the Xbox games exclusives I've missed out on growing up, and decided it'd be interesting to do a retrospective on the Halo series, but as the perspective of a PlayStation fan. Disclaimer: just because I grew up as a PlayStation fan does not change or affect any of my opinions of the series or Xbox as a whole. Games are games, and doesn't matter what fucking box you play them on. I'm just going to be comparing them to other PlayStation exclusives like Resistance and Killzone, since those were PlayStation's FPS of choice. So yeah, let's calm down a bit and just have fun with it. Let's talk about these games. I'm just get this out of the way real quick. These are great games. I don't hate them. I just have a couple nitpicks, but that's about it. We're going to go over 3 aspects of all of the Master Chief games: the story, gameplay, and music. I will shortly talk about ODST and Reach because they're spin-offs, but the focus is primarily on the Master Chief saga, so 1 through 5. So let's get this out of the way real quick. Halo's story has always been okay, and that's not a bad thing. Hell, the Killzone and Resistance series has never really had quite a bit of a story, except for Resistance 3 and Killzone 3. They tried, but they were never as close to the quality that the writing of Halo has. That being said, the story of Halo Combat Evolved can be summed up to: the green dude lands on the ring is bad, so we gotta blow up the ring. And that's pretty much it. Granted, it's obviously more than that. It has some interesting plot points, like them thinking that Halo's a weapon when it's actually made to get rid of all living creatures to prevent the flood from spreading. I thought that was a really interesting idea and reason for us to blow up this Halo ring, other than it being just some other Death Star. However, it's obvious the story wasn't much of a focus, which is clear from the pretty simple story, and that's fine because that didn't make the experience worse or better. Clearly, we were all here for So yeah, we all know the great historical feat Halo was able to accomplish as the first console shooter to introduce the idea of looking with this nipple and walking with the other. Let me just say, thank you. This game has aged very well, and playing it was honestly a joy. For the first half, it felt better than most shooters today. However, it started to get a little stale with the lack of different weaponry and vehicles and stuff like that. Hell, I tried playing the first 3 Killzones a few months back before this, the series that claimed to be the Halo killer, and goddamn do those games feel like you're controlling a sumo wrestler walking through mud. While on the other hand, Halo feels pretty natural and right most of the time. Walk speed is pretty slow at times, but makes up for it with vehicles in these huge environments. Even though the driving isn't that great, but we can't all be perfect. Weapons are all good and fun for the first few hours, but it started to feel stale towards the end. I almost didn't finish the game because I just felt like, okay, I've experienced everything I had to experience. And yeah, the Magnum is great and all, but it's not some fucking gift from God. It's a gun that shoots good. Big deal. Enemies are varied, and the weapons that you're given greatly complement each of the enemy's weaknesses. Like the Jackal's tiny opening that you can hit with the sniper, the weak spot on the back of the big fuckers that you can hit with one shot with the Magnum, and how you could overwhelm elites with shields with the AR, I guess. Yeah, there isn't much to choose from when fighting, but the combat always feels good and keeps you thinking of how to deal with your enemies. I heard a while ago that the Halo's always had this scrappy kind of combat, using whatever you have in front of you to deal with the situation you're given, and I agree with it. However, the lack of weaponry kind of makes it feel more stale towards the end, but still was way more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, combat always feels good and keeps you thinking of when to deal and how to deal with enemies differently with different weaponry. And what better to back up that fun combat with than with the... Okay, so I'm gonna keep it real. It's... The soundtrack for this game is okay. Let me explain for real quick before you guys start. For years and years, I've always heard how amazing the Halo soundtracks are, but no one ever told me how okay Combat Evolved is. Sure, it has some iconic tracks and everything, but granted, it's not what I was expecting. During most of the combat and exploration, it gets really repetitive and kind of annoying, and I was just hoping that it gives some sort of variation and different types of music in the mix. It's fine, honestly. I know it gets better, but overall, this game's okay. Granted, it has some iconic tracks, just like I said, but there's room for improvement. Last thoughts, Halo combat involved is a ton of fun. Combat is fun and has aged really good. The music is fine and the story's just there. So since I played the anniversary version of this game, it really added some really fucking good looking CGI cutscenes, which is cool and all, but unfortunately didn't really help. Like I said, I'm gonna be honest and real with you, I have no fucking clue what happened in this game. And maybe that was my fault, but the story in this game was really fucking boring. And the last half was super uninteresting story-wise. However, the idea of having two main characters was honestly a really cool idea. Having two different perspectives from both the humans and the Covenant. Like the whole first cutscene where Master Chief is being praised for saving the universe from the last game, and then cuts immediately to the Arbiter being booed and harassed and branded for failing his mission. Like he's some failure. Like, why? Like, we actually see the consequences and the aftermath of what happened in the last game. Not just like, yeah, we won, we beat the aliens, and the next game is like, oh, there's some different aliens there trying to attack us. Like, no. Things happened, and there's repercussions from what happened. And honestly, I didn't like the fact that the Arbiter gets so much shit for failing the mission. Like, he wasn't the only Covenant dude or elite that was on the Halo run getting his ass beat. So, like, what the fuck is up? Why isn't any of the other guys getting their ass beat? Why aren't they responsible for this? Honestly, I don't know. I just didn't like that fact. Maybe he's some sort of super elite that was in charge of all of them. It's bullshit. I just thought it's bullshit. But yeah, the story was kind of boring. Arby's pretty cool and interesting character. Cortana leaves for some reason to get rid of the Flood. That's not another thing. Why is the Flood back? I'm tired of the Flood. I didn't mention that in the first section, but I hate the Flood. Just hate them. They're the worst. So gameplay feels way better than the first. Honestly, for some reason, it just feels so much more satisfying, and all the new weapons that they added were great additions, like the battle rifle and the SMG. And not even to mention that they added dual wielding, which is like, fuck yeah. But that's about it. I'm happy that the Ghost can finally do like a boost or whatever. But yeah, the pistol sucks now, so there goes all that chanting for the fucking Magnum. But yeah, the gameplay is it's a bit better. That's all I can say. So the music here is a big improvement. The whole soundtrack was way better than the first, if you play the anniversary edition. You see, the Master Chief Collection has this feature where if you press the button, you can switch back from classic graphics and anniversary graphics in both Combat Evolved and 2. And in Combat Evolved it was just graphics, but I didn't realize that in this game they also remastered the music and the audio, which is crazy. I was not expecting them to fully remaster the audio and music. I never noticed it in Combat Evolved, but in 2 it was super obvious and caught me off guard. Like, holy shit, how did you guys play this back then? It's super muffled in the original version, but in the anniversary version, it's way more clear and ambient and sounds really good. The ambient and combat music is very well done, and while there aren't really good standouts, it wasn't as annoying and repetitive as the first game, which made this game a lot more bearable. Halo 2 was a very nice improvement. The story sucked though, but the gameplay was really good, and a good improvement. Same with the music, it was great improvement, so not a bad sequel, guys. Not bad. Good job, Bungie. Good job. So yeah, I don't know. I think Halo isn't just for me. I don't know what happened in this one either. Honestly, the stories in these games don't really interest me. Arbiter and the Chief are friends now. Sure, they kind of argue in the middle, but then they become friends. Like, oh yeah, let's be friends. Let's just get over it. Which is cool. It's cool to see them as friends. Johnson dies, which kind of sucks. We finally kill the ugly worm dude that from activating Halo again, or the big laser, whatever. And Cortana's back for whatever reason. Like, how'd you get this random flood ship to get back to the middle of this Halo that they found? Like, I don't know, this is a little bit too convenient for me. I like the setup of the campaign though, where this bitch just like, let's fucking push these aliens, and she dies. So yeah, I don't know. There weren't many memorable moments except when you fight the big crab robot thing. That was really cool. But all in all, so far the Halo story has not really impressed me with this boring ass main character and this tiny blue ones. So sorry if that gets anyone mad, but it just didn't interest me. That being said, not many of the stories from the PlayStation games interested me too. Killzone, I don't know what happens. It's space Nazis, whatever. Resistance, the only interesting part of the story in that series was the third game where you playing this dude trying to get back to his family. And that was slightly interesting, but yeah, these aren't amazing Oscar-worthy games. They're alright. The stories are fine. It's just another excuse to get to shooting. So, and that being said, alright, I'm gonna say this and get it over with. This is Master Chief at his best. We got the best selection of weapons up to this point, and then we got like 5 different types of grenades, dual wielding as well. Whatever these gadget things are called, like the bubble shield in the region, everything just feels so good. However, that being said, this is its combat at its best, but gameplay isn't. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Why the fuck are my jumps so floaty? It doesn't feel the same as the first 2 games. It just feels too floaty. I feel like I'm in the fucking moon. Like, what the hell's going on? And why the hell are the guns I hold lodged into my fucking chest? Like, I wish there was some sort of FOV slider, because God, the FOV threw me off the whole game. But yeah, up to this point, Halo has been pretty much the same for the past 3 games so far, with each entry adding more and more additions. And that's great. That doesn't make games bad sequels to one another. But when you play all these games back to back, it all starts to kind of blur. That's my fault for trying to marathon these games, but yeah. At least the Resistance games, all 3 of them felt like their own type of game. The first one felt like a sort of military shooter with aliens in it, and it was kind of interesting. The second game played really badly, and they changed too much of it. It made it more streamlined, but it's fine. And the third one was the best playing of all of them. Felt like a super unique type shooter with a bunch of guns and unique upgradable guns, and it was really cool. But yeah, combat is fun, but it's starting to get a little stale, and I'm really hoping for this to get a bit better. But yeah, so yeah, this is the music I was waiting for. Yep, this is what I wanted. I have nothing else to say. It's great. There's nothing more I can say. It's really, really good. So that's it. Best in the series. So I promised I'd talk about these 2, and it seems only appropriate to do so now. ODST is pretty much an expansion on 3, and a really good one at that. The environments and the premise are amazing, and the music beautifully backs it up. The story is an interesting one, kind of piecing together the whereabouts of your team, like some Pulp Fiction type shit, and it was really fun and different. The atmosphere was super intriguing and it was super cool, and it was one of the more enjoyable ones. Fun fact, this is the first Halo I fully owned and played. A while back I got a 360, and this is one of the few games I was able to find for $5, and I played through it and I really enjoyed it. But I never felt like there's a reason for me to go back and play all the other games. Reach, however, a different story. What I'm gonna say right now might anger you or might make you happy, so sue me if it does, but whatever, I'm gonna just go for it. This might be my favorite Halo, and like I said before, Halo 3 was Master Chief at his best, but Halo Reach is Halo at its best. This game has the best selection of weapons, environments, abilities, and characters, and vehicles, and music, and everything. Is the perfect Halo game. And I know people criticize the story and characters because you already know the ending. Everybody dies, and there's no happy ending. And for most people, yeah, that might feel unsatisfying, but to me, it felt great. You can't always save everybody. You can't always win. And stories where the hero doesn't always have to win has always been more interesting to me than the stories that we always win. Stories like Scarface, Avengers Infinity War, Logan, these are realities that you won't always win, but you'll at least go down fighting. And that's why this game spoke more to me than the other ones. It was such an interesting story, getting to know these characters and then quickly seeing them go. King K did a great video about this, and I highly recommend you go watch it. He'll do a way better job of explaining this than me. So yeah, go watch this video. Honestly, this is one of the more interesting games in the series for me. Halo 4 kind of threw me off, because this is one of the more interesting stories for me personally, in the Master Chief saga. And yes, I know it was kind of the one that started dragging this franchise down since 343 started taking over as devs, but honestly, I really enjoyed the writing here. Set years after 3, both Chief and Cortana are aging. Cortana is slowly, basically dying and going insane, but Chief is stubborn and arrogant and doesn't want to give up on her despite everything that she's causing and everything that's going on. I'm happy that they finally introduced a new type of race of aliens. Other than the brutes, those guys were just big gorillas, but who really cares? Also, didn't mention, I fucking hate these guys in 2. They're the worst. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea to adding a different species into the mix, having to fight these Forerunner dudes and the Covenant at the same time with all these new weapons were really, really cool. That being said, the villain really sucks. This has to be the worst villain ever. You see him like twice, and then when you finally fight him. You don't really fight him. It's kind of like a cutscene or something. And also the whole conflict throughout the game was just like, okay. But Chief and Cortana's story, the most interesting thing to have happened in the Master Chief series up to this point. Too bad they have to fuck it up in the next game, but we'll get there. So since this game was made after Reach, it obviously plays very well, right? Well, Sprint is now a basic skill, which is cool. Very much needed after like 4 games, but that's fine. They also brought with them a whole bunch of new abilities. However, I never really found myself using them. The Promethean shield took too long to pull out. The thruster had too short of a dash, and the auto sentry barely did shit. The jetpack felt somewhat heavier and slower than Reach, but maybe I'm crazy, but it just didn't feel as good. The only somewhat useful ability was a Promethean vision, and even then, I have a fucking minimap that's telling me where enemies are, so yeah. What was the point of these abilities? Yes, while some might argue that half of Reach's abilities weren't even useful, but half is better than just one ability. So yeah, fuck you. Oh, and also the new Forerunner weapons are really cool and look sick when you first pick them up and they're all like transforming around your arm. It was really cool. So honestly, I don't remember a single track from this game. It was very, very forgettable. Maybe if I re-listen to it, I might pick something out, but I'll be honest, I'm not going to because that's too much work. So yeah, Halo 3 best soundtrack, but that's about it. So initially, I wasn't going to talk about the multiplayer, but since this is Halo, and it's known for its multiplayer, a bunch of you guys would probably find out where I live and waterboard me with Mountain Dew until I finally actually do play multiplayer, so here goes. It's fine. Combat Evolved's multiplayer is fun, simple, it makes it super easy to pick up and play. I really enjoyed the snipers mode. It just felt natural. It just felt easy and really brought me back to those Unreal Tournament days where just go fight and have fun. And it was enjoyable. However, 2 didn't feel as good for some reason. I don't know. I think it was just the anniversary version. But yeah, it just didn't feel good to play at all. And it really threw me off. Like, guns didn't feel as satisfying on players despite feeling good in the story, fighting aliens. Like, I felt like I emptied mags into people but barely did any damage. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm bad at aiming. I felt like I did garbage in this game. And while most say that's just Halo, you just gotta shoot them until they die. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not for me. Personally, it's not for me. I can't vibe with it. Games like Killzone and Resistance, sure, they didn't have the best multiplayer following, but at least they had competent multiplayer modes for me to feel like I'm actually doing something. And didn't have me feel like I'm shooting somebody for half an hour, or at least have it feel like that. My same concerns apply with 3. The guns feel a lot more better, but the floaty jumps and the shitty FOV really made me not enjoy it as much, and probably was the most least enjoyable of all of the Halo games. And honestly, maybe I suck, and I probably do. I really do. I actually really do. I'm always at the bottom of the leaderboard, so yeah. It's just, Halo doesn't vibe with me, but I can recognize the appeal, and I respect it, and you guys can just keep playing it, but it's not for me. I'm good, thank you. Reach, however, was the best feeling of all the multiplayer games, and that's only because of one thing alone: the DMR. And that sucks because I shouldn't have to feel like there's only one gun I feel that's effective towards players. So yeah, Halo it just wasn't for me. Halo 4, it just blows, man. It's just the whole loadout system, like they blew it. Like, I enjoyed Halo. I say I didn't enjoy these games, but I recognize what they are and how they play. And having Reach and Combat Evolved be the most enjoyable for me because they just say go, look for weapons around the map, and just go for it. Halo 4 just kind of fucked it up with this loadout system. Yeah, Reach kind of had it too, but not that much. You just had they already had set loadouts for you. In 4, you can make any loadout you want, which kind of sucks because newer players get fucked up by veteran players like me. So yeah, it just wasn't fun. It just didn't feel like Halo. It just felt like a generic multiplayer tacked-in mode. And probably the worst thing I can call it is it feels like a multiplayer mode that's in Killzone or the Resistance, which isn't a good thing because those are just generic multiplayer modes that are just okay and were made as a second thought. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like Halo, which is a perfect segue to the last game in the series. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest with all of you. I couldn't finish this game. So I'm gonna keep this section brief. I'm not gonna talk about much of it, but yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened in this game. And I don't really care much for it. It just doesn't feel like Halo. The story, the characters is whack, and the gameplay is whack. Honestly, I could just not give a fuck about what happened in this game. I don't know. Maybe I just got bored of all the Halo games. Not likely, because I went back to playing Reach, and I really enjoyed that one. and also ODST. But man, this game did not feel good. The whole movement systems just didn't feel good. The gameplay just feels so dumbed down with all the movement abilities and this emphasis on squad shit that you can do, which barely does anything and adds to the game. It's just a bad game, and honestly the worst in the series. And this is coming from someone that enjoys some bad games like Anthem and Fallout 76 and GoldenEye Rogue Agent. But yeah, all in all, simply this isn't a Halo game I enjoy, or Halo game I don't think many people enjoy. It just bored me to death with story, gameplay, and music, so I just quit and deleted it as fast as I could. I didn't even touch the multiplayer. I don't even fucking care. I'm sure it's fine, but I honestly don't care. Resistance 2 was more enjoyable than this. Like, come on, man. Killzone Shadowfall was more enjoyable than this. Like, god damn, man. How did they fuck this up so bad? In conclusion, this is gonna be my ranking of the games from worst to best. Yeah, or best to worst, whatever. So number 1, Halo Reach. No, obviously it's just the perfect Halo game in my opinion. You guys might have other opinions, but to me, I found this the most enjoyable game in the series. Number 2, Halo 3 / ODST. Mainly ODST because I just really liked the story and the ideas it had. Reminded me a lot of Titanfall with this atmosphere and this kind of grunt style gameplay. Number 3, Halo Combat Evolved, because it's pretty timeless and really shocking how really good it plays to this day in 2020, and I give it props for that. Number 4, Halo 4, just mainly because Master Chief's and Cortana's story was super enjoyable and the gameplay was really fun. I liked all the new weapons and stuff. Halo 2 and number 5, I kind of feel bad for putting it here because it's still a great game. These are all great games, no doubt. But the story was kind of boring, honestly, so I had to put it near the bottom. At number 6, Halo Spartan Assault. I haven't even played that one, but honestly, anything is better than Halo 5. I'm sorry. I'm not salty. I like bad games. I like to give any game a chance, but this game just does not deserve to be on this list. It's not a Halo game. I'm sorry. All in all, the series was super fun to play through, despite all of my complaints and criticisms. These are great games and are way better than any shooter PlayStation has managed to make. The only ones that come to mind that come close to the quality of this whole series is Resistance 3 or maybe Killzone 2, but honestly, these games are great, despite everything I've said. I'm just wanting to give you guys my honest opinions about what I played, and I hope you guys don't get too mad and don't want to kill me after this. But yeah, Halo's great, and that's it. Thank you for watching. So yeah, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. This is my very first video, and I apologize if the lack of quality that you might expect from any other YouTuber. I'm working with a very shitty setup. I don't even have a capture card because I'm living in a garage, and this audio quality is probably the best thing I got right now. But yeah, I just wanted to start doing videos despite all this corona stuff that's happening. So yeah, please let me know if you enjoyed it, anything I can improve upon, any recommendations on software I could use without too much space taking up or lack of hardware. I'm using a Mac that's like from 2012, so bear with me. And have very subpar editing skills, so I'm making do with what I got. But thank you for watching, and if you want to continue supporting me, thank you very much. And I'll be back soon talking about more video games and maybe some hip-hop music or some movies, or I don't know, whatever.